phone. Again, anyway, I thought I'd
break that back out.
I just taught some free out.
Wait a minute. Conflict of interest.
All right, good evening, everybody. This is Seth Ingham, Board Chair of the Nantucket Conservation Commission. We're meeting today, Thursday, March 19th, the last day of winter, 2026 at 5 p.m. in a hybrid fashion, with some people physically present in the iconic trailer at 131 Pleasant Street and others on Zoom. The first thing we need to do today is establish a quorum of members. We do have a quorum, so I'll begin the call to order with Joe Plandowski,
Here.
John Schaefer,
Here.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Here.
Seth Ingwer is here. It's 4 members, which is a quorum. And now we need to go through our agenda. The following items on our agenda are continued. In the public hearing, section B, notice of intent waiver required. We have Robert F. Greenhill Revocable Trust, 16 Horse Hollow Road, SC 48 3917, continued till April 2nd. Also in other business, I think SPPF sand plan discussion was left on here, but there's no intention of talking about that tonight. So we'll strike that from the agenda. With those changes and continuances, is there a motion to accept the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank
Second.
you. Second, we do need to do a roll call by roll call vote. Joe Plandowski,
Here.
John Schaefer,
Here.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Seth Engelborg is here, aye.
Aye.
Aye, yeah, that
Yeah.
carries unanimously. Announcements, the Nantucket Conservation Commission meeting is being audio and video recorded. Please do not use any of your personal devices for recording, including your cell phone. If you use your cell phone in this room during this meeting, you will be considered part of the open record. And hopefully you don't have juicy text on there that you don't want people to see it because it will become public. Beyond that, we'll move on to update on public comment questions from prior meetings. We did receive some questions via email from the Nantucket Coastal Conservancy regarding some updates based on the discussion we had at last meeting about the state of the bacterial geotubes. I'll admit that we do not have a response for you at this time at this meeting, but we are aware of that, the questions that were posed, and we'll get you a response. That's it for the update on public comment questions from prior meetings. We'll move on to public comment. This is for items not on the agenda today. We'll be holding to the select board's established procedures for public comment, limiting comments to 3 minutes or less and not engaging in deliberation, simply taking comments for future action if warranted. At this time, if you have a public comment and you're physically present in the room, come to one of these tables and we'll address you. And if you're on Zoom, please raise your hand virtually. Anyone in the room wish to comment? Seems like not. We have Burton Balkind on Zoom. Well, looks like you put him over, so please introduce yourself for the record with any organization you may represent and then make your comment.
Thank you, Chairman. My name is Burton Balkind. I am president of the Nantucket Coastal Conservancy. I'm wondering, as far as procedure, you have the Baxter Road under the potential enforcement. Is there going to be any discussion there at all, or is there something I can bring up now in public comment?
I don't anticipate discussion unless Will has an update for us beyond what was discussed at last meeting.
Well,
Okay,
in that
make
case,
your comment now then.
okay. In that case, I just would ask that I've been asking for a few at a few of these meetings to have a public comment section where we can actually talk about getting it cleaned up and brought back into compliance, or at least putting some mitigation sand on the front. I know that there is also now a possible failure going on the tube, so it complicates it. But I think having a robust discussion at a public meeting would give some transparency and clarity to the situation that's going on out there. So I appreciate you guys putting that as an agenda item that we can talk about in a public forum. And I think other comments, I think I'll be able to make when you talk about the Baxter Road relocation. So I will keep any other comments for that, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Volkins. Any other public comments? Seeing none, we'll move on to our public hearing. We'll begin with notice of intent. We'll move straight into the waiver required section, section B. And we'll begin with Town of Nantucket, Baxter Road, alternative access, SC 483945. Before we begin, can we identify who the representatives are here to speak on this project? Yes, Vince, go ahead and can you introduce the team?
That is the only reason I'm here, is to introduce the team.
Okay.
We'll be taking a back seat. I'm Vince Murphy, Natural Resources Department, representing the town on behalf of the Baxter Road Alternative Access and Utility Relocation project. This has been a project, I would say, about 4 years in development, and very pleased that we're able to bring it to the Commission at this point. We're looking at how we can reasonably provide access, water and sewer services in the event of a breach. That is the purpose here, that is the intent, and it brings most of the access from the Sankaty roadside, as well as sewer and water services that have to get rerouted that way. We have Bill Casey from Arcadis. He has done all of the heavy lifting, and I'm extremely proud and very happy to turn it over to him and his team. Thank you, Bill, all yours, with the chair's approval.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Vince, and thank you, Bill, for being here. Before you do that, it's my understanding that there's a presentation that you wish to share tonight. Is that correct?
It's in the package.
We do have
Yeah.
one prepared.
Okay, it's in the packet. Based on our policies and procedures, we ask that people just keep their presentations to around 5 minutes. So you don't need to go over the whole presentation, just the overview, high level overview, and then if commissioners have questions about it, they can ask you at that point. And then if you feel the need to speak further, you can submit a request to do that, but let's just keep it to 5 minutes at this point.
Sure, no problem. Also just wanted to indicate that Brian Madden from LEC is also a member of our team and is in attendance tonight. Do you want me to share the presentation on my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay, very good. Two. Slideshow. Are you able to view it?
Not yet.
No, sorry.
So do you need to give me rights?
Yeah, Will might have to recheck.
We should
Share.
be all set.
Okay, yeah, it's going now.
Oh, no, okay,
Yeah, that's good there.
very good. So thank you, Vince, for the introduction and the summary. So I will keep this moving right along then and just hit the good parts. A good-looking team that we have here. Been working really hard over the years to get to some level of resolution. Just a general location of the site over along Baxter Road in Sconset. This is a blow-up view of the general project area to the north at the Sankaty Lighthouse and to the south Bayberry and Sankaty Road and Baxter Road. The northern section is where the work is planned. A lot of words on this screen, but really the highlights, as Vince indicated, where should Baxter Road become no longer usable due to erosion and become breach, the town is preparing an alternative plan to bring water and sewer in really from Pulpus or from Sankaty Road and provide access along those mains. The project will involve putting in a new water line, low pressure sewer system, removing the paved surface along Baxter Road. So should it become breached, that doesn't end up in the ocean. Associated valves and sewer manholes with the utility work, in addition to new access ways to a number of parcels. Here's the just general overall limit of work. We've got two applications on the agenda tonight, the notice of intent that we're presenting now and a request for determination for a few smaller portions. The next couple of slides will indicate kind of where the project interacts with the resource area. Here in the project area, we've got coastal bank, we've got bordering vegetated wetlands, and isolated wetlands, as well as it's a priority habitat for endangered species. So going through each one, we've got the wetlands map with the buffer zone identified. You can see in a number of locations that the limit of work intersects with the buffer zone. However, there's no impact to the resources themselves. Similarly, along the coastal bank, the removal of the pavement along Baxter Road is within the buffer zone of coastal bank. This is just a little bit of history of the process that we went through with the Endangered Species Program, who resulted in no adverse effects. The project, in addition, we had a great conversation, correspondence with the MEPA office, who also determined that we did not need to proceed with the MEPA filing. This is the priority habitat map, just as it intersects with the project area. Being shown there in bold is generally the access ways and utility corridors. The next couple are really a blow-up view of the project area. Here you'll see the new proposed access way that's coming in along the golf course from Sankaty. The purple is identified as paved surface. The brown is gravel and non-paved surfaces. The houses existing are all in pink, if you will. And the yellow that's identified is a suggested routing for each homeowner to connect to said utility service. Here you can see the buffer zone of the coastal bank along the top in red, just touching the edge of Baxter Road there. That's just how the road comes down into Sankaty at the golf club entrance. Here is about the middle section of the project, where there's a few new proposed access areas, and we can be talking about these areas during the RDA. And here is just how the wetland buffer zones interact with the project area. Particularly, there's going to be utility work along the bike path, as well as new pavement or paved surface along Sankaty Road and Bayberry. This table is just an identification of the areas of disturbance. A lot of these volumes have to do with the actual removal of the paved surface on Baxter Road, because that would be considered a permanent impact, even though I think it's a beneficial impact. Mitigation strategies generally would be straw wattle barriers and catch basin, I guess inlet protection. And those would be, separating from the resource to the construction area in several locations along the project. This is just a close-up view of those from our construction drawings. We do have a small section of new access way that's going to be paved, and that's coming in by the golf course entrance and heading along to the northern reach. Just to mitigate any stormwater there, we're collecting it through some infiltrating catch basins. And that's a 5-minute or less presentation. Does
Thank you
anybody
very much.
any questions or discussion, and like get to a more of an overall view, might be a good way.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, do you have anything to add at this time?
Not at this stage.
Okay, commissioners, questions or comments?
Yeah, I got a question.
Go ahead, John.
When is this all supposed to happen?
Well, there would be a number of steps, and Vince, I don't know if you want to take this before the project would move forward.
Yes, so there's a number of extra steps that need to go on with this, but it's all around funding. So that's one part of it, but more importantly, it might be contingent on a breach. So there's an environmental step that we can't say. So it may be the case that we might be looking to come back in a few years if this was granted, so that we might need an extension.
I mean, I also understand the question, but it's not really up for us to decide.
Yeah,
As long as they do it within the
Period.
permitted period, that's any applicant's right, but yeah, Mike, go ahead.
Vince, I don't know if you're able to touch on what the breach criteria looks like. I mean, it's a long road. One part of it starts to go, it starts to trigger the whole thing.
So Bill can jump in at any point. The current criteria is that it stems from a 2014 document that was put together by the then DPW director, whose name I can't remember. And it was once the edge of the bluff comes within 25 feet of the edge of the road, it triggers an engineering review, not that it's an automatic move. So then a panel of engineers assess it and see if the road can hold up a little longer, if they suggest local access only, or if they just say this is unsafe anymore. It could also be the case that it's a direct and outright breach. I have been measuring, along with my team, 9 particular locations, and immediately north and immediately south of the existing geotubes are some of the skinniest parts. And I frequently say, even at select board and a previous conservation commission hearings, that there's a point that's currently 36 feet from the edge of the bluff to the edge of the road. That did not change in Winter Storm Fern or Winter Storm Fernando, but the base did go, and it is something we watch very closely. So it's something that we do worry about. Yes.
Great, that gives some clarity. Thank you.
Thank you. Let it be known for the record that Commissioner Williams has joined us at 5:17 p.m. I'm sure he did. Any other commissioner comments? If not, we'll go to members of the public. Mr. Balkan, please introduce yourself again for the record, any connection you may have to the project, and then make your comment.
Thank you, Chairman.
Extra
Burton
roles.
Balkine. I am the president of the Nantucket Coastal Conservancy, but I am actually speaking on behalf of myself. I have not consulted the Conservancy with any of my comments. There was a graph or a slide that came up that had the amount of disturbances in each area. Can we put that back up if that's possible?
Sure. Let's see, here we go.
So I was curious, and my first question would be maybe to the commission, within the 100-foot buffer, do you guys have review of within the 100-foot or only the 25 and 50-foot?
No, we have jurisdictional review over all resource areas and all 100-foot buffer zones, but in some of those performance standards of those 100-foot areas, there's less performance standards, but we certainly have a review over them.
I would be interested to see the areas like 17,000 feet, I believe, is the measurement square feet is quite an impact on the isolated vegetated wetlands and even 7,000 feet and the bordered vegetated wetlands. Now I understand the coastal bank numbers probably is a lot of that is the pavement, but removal. But maybe we could get a little bit more clarity at some point on what those two areas are involved with. What we're talking about, if that's possible.
Sure, yeah, I'll let Mr. Casey or Mr. Madden answer that, but just so you're clear, those numbers you're referencing on the left are the temporary construction impacts. Not that it's not meaningful, we need to be wary of temporary impacts as well, but on the right is kind of like the permanent impacts, the cumulative impacts. So Mr. Casey or Mr. Madden, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna go back to the graphics here of the resource areas. And certainly a majority of that permanent impact, really almost all of it, is related to the removal of this long section of Baxter Road within that buffer zone. There's a small amount that has been identified from a walking path as another slight increase to permanent impact. But it's pretty much the removal of said pavement along that surface. This right here is an isolated wetland, and it's not in the road, but of course it's right up adjacent to. And again, it's the removal of the pavement is the permanent, and the temporary is just a smidge larger, if you will, for the straw wattles environmental protection. If that's
That-
helpful.
Mr. Balkan, does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's a great explanation. I think the walking through that a little bit made it a lot more clear for me, the public. And then the other question I had, if I'm allowed to, in the catch basin and the infiltrators, is there going to be a maintenance plan involved in those going forward if the project does go forward? I want to know if there are plans to keep those maintained. Thank you.
There will need to be a maintenance plan as they will fill up with sand over time.
Great.
And I think the ownership of that is to be determined, whether it's town maintenance or neighborhood association maintenance.
Thank you.
Yes, we can condition an order of conditions to require a maintenance plan, so they can figure out the specifics, but we can condition that to be submitted before construction. Any other questions from the public? Okay,
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. That's
stop the screen share, thank you. Will, do we have everything we need to proceed with closing this application?
I was just about to unmute like we're in the other room. Yes, we do, in fact.
Vince, would you like to close this application?
I think my team is nodding.
Yep, absolutely.
Yes, please, with your permission.
Okay. Is there a motion to close that?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you both, Linda and Mike, for the second. By roll call vote, Joe Landowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams,
Aye.
Seth Engler, guy, that carries unanimously. Joe Big Joe.
Very good. Thank
Thank you all, Vince, Will, and Brian.
I can't get you in the packet.
And then we'll move on to Nantucket Islands Land Bank at 16 and 19 East Creek Road. Represented by Adrian Lennon.
They may want to screen share as well for themselves.
Liz, are you starting this for us?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Liz Phelps representing Nantucket Islands Land Bank. I'm gonna hand it over to our engineer team at Par Corporation in a moment, but just wanted to give a brief introduction of the project. This property encompasses 2 adjoining parcels. The land bank purchased 16 East Creek in 2010, and it contains a public parking lot with a mowed area and benches overlooking the creek. 19 East Creek is a former residential property that the land bank purchased in 2022 after the previous owner started renovations to the existing dwelling. So the building is completely gutted and the dock is dilapidated. We're proposing to remove the structure and install a scenic boardwalk and dock rebuild that are ADA accessible. I will hand it over to Adrian Lennon and Todd Turcott of Par Corporation to give a brief presentation. Thanks.
Thank you. And as I said, for the previous applicant, if you could make your presentation in 5 minutes or less, we would appreciate it.
Thank you. I will do my absolute best. Commissioners, thank you for the opportunity to present tonight the East Creek Boardwalk Improvements Notice of Intent projects through you, Mr. Chairman or Ms. Chairman or Chairperson. We appreciate this opportunity. My name is Adrienne Lennon. I'm from Par Corporation representing the applicant tonight. This project has come together with Nantucket surveyors, Park Corporation, LEC Environmental, and Scape Landscape Architecture to put together a really nice proposal for a beautiful project that we'd like to see constructed on East Creek. So here we go, as fast as I can. The project includes demolishing the existing residential dwelling, grading the surrounding area, reorganizing a parking area, adding an accessible parking space, replacing an existing timber pier, the construction of a new timber boardwalk, and the installation of native plantings, and some management of invasive species within natural resource areas. The site has been identified as a suitable location for a small-scale overlook and access improvements due to its proximity to existing public parcels, its relationship to East Creek, and the opportunity to formalize access in a manner that protects surrounding coastal and wetland resources. The project is permissible under the Wetlands Protection Act and the Chapter 91 Public Waterfront Act according to the regulations set forth in 310 CMR 9.122A4, which is the determination of water dependency. The department finds water dependent use of parks, esplanades, boardwalks, and other pedestrian facilities that promote use and enjoyment of the water for the general public and are located at or near the water's edge, including but not limited to any park adjacent to a waterway and created by a public agency. So the project location is along the creeks, which is a coastal waterway and salt marsh system at the southwest corner of Nantucket Harbor in Nantucket. The site consists of the two parcels that Liz mentioned, 16 and 19 East Creek Road, which are accessed via the paved right-of-way that transitions into compacted gravel roadway before the entrance of our island home. The parcels are bound by residential property in the east, our island home facility to the south, and other residential properties on the western side with vegetated areas interspersed between and some nearby town-owned conservation land within the salt marsh system to the north. Wetland resource areas were delineated by LEC environmental consultants and then documented on the East Creek survey by Nantucket surveyors. Currently, there is a residential dwelling with a dock and pier located at the 19 East Creek Road parcel. And on the 16 East Creek Road parcel, there are existing conditions, including a gravel driveway within the right-of-way and a gravel parking area. There's a mix of native invasive species surrounding the features on both parcels, and the site includes intertidal zones, salt marsh, coastal bank, and upland areas. Elevations generally increase from the creek to the upland areas, with the lowest elevations occurring along the marsh edge and intertidal zones, and the subsurface conditions consist primarily of well-drained soils and indicate suitable soils for stormwater infiltration as needed. Vegetation, as we mentioned, is typical of salt marsh species, and the upland vegetation includes some landscaped areas, some native and invasive species, and some of that is going to be managed as part of this notice of intent. So additional resource areas that we are including in our impact calculations are the land under the ocean, land containing shellfish, salt marsh, coastal bank, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and the buffer zone to both salt marsh and coastal bank. Specifically related to land containing shellfish, according to Mass GIS and the shellfish suitability areas layer, the harvest of shell stock of any purpose is not permitted in this particular area mapped by Nantucket Boat Basin. So we are not concerning ourselves with time of year restrictions or anything like that for the project. In addition to that, there is natural heritage endangered species priority habitat that begins about 30 feet offshore of the site on the opposite bank. We will not be impacting any NHESP land or priority habitat as part of this project, so we are not concerning ourselves with performance standards or guidelines related to that either. So we have conservatively calculated some land underwater impacts as the seaward edge of creek limit that is shown on the project plans. The permanent impacts are totaling approximately 16 square feet, and these are due to the removal of existing pier pilings and the installation of 21 new pier pilings. This is a very conservative estimate because the land under ocean actually begins a little bit deeper than the location of those piers, but we did want to make sure we were calculating the edge of creek and land underwater to a certain extent because that is contiguous with the rest of the project. In the same way, there will be roughly 15 square feet of permanent impact to the land containing shellfish area. And then the salt marsh impacts are all temporary in nature. They are related specifically to the removal of the existing structure and the replacement of the new structure, and then some very limited invasive species management and plantings that will take place in that area. The coastal bank is located right along it's a little bit hard to see, and I'm just going to point it out to you here. It's located right along elevation 8, flood elevation 8 here, and then it begins to kind of climb up a little bit up the shoreline towards elevation 13 before it crosses over onto the other parcel. So there is a very limited impact to the coastal bank. We're just going to be regrading the site right there. There's no new fill coming in and along the coastal bank. It's just in an effort to try to smooth out that area for ADA accessibility and just generally improve the water management on the site. When it comes to land subject to coastal storm flowage, there will be almost 5,500 square feet of impact. That is largely because the entire project is located seaward of coastal bank, so it is going to be inside of land subject to coastal storm flowage. There will be resiliency efforts that are made as part of the design for this project so that it is elevated beyond the flood elevation and also the flood elevation to 2070. So there is a very robust planting plan that's associated with this project. It includes a mix of plantings for high marsh and the transitional marsh moving up into the upland area, and then significant garden plantings that are intended to naturalize the area, along with shrubs and trees to stabilize the site. As you can see, all of that is happening landward of the boardwalk, and it is generally along the property bounds to allow for some privacy and space for the view shed right there. And I'm going to hand this over very quickly to my colleague Todd to talk through a little bit of the structure mechanics, and then I'll come back around to answer any questions.
Out of respect, since we're really over the 5 minutes, I'll allow any questions in the structure. Basically, it's a timber pile supported structure throughout the boardwalk, green heart piles with CCA treat are a mixture of CCA and MCA treated lumber. Happy to answer any questions, but I don't want to take up too much more time.
Okay,
Thank
sure.
you.
I'll fly through it. So here we are on the seaward side of the parcel and walking up along the boardwalk here. Then we have an upper deck that's located generally in the same footprint of the existing home. And then you're looking at the cross section entering into the parking area. So a couple of things came up with DEP Southeast Regional Office in their review. The one was that the DEP and the Division of Marine Fisheries recommend 1-to-1 or greater ratio elevation for height to width of an elevated boardwalk or walkway. We're not able to accommodate that guideline at this time because the project has been designed for ADA accessibility. So we have to keep it relatively close. And we have done our best to elevate it as much as we possibly can over the salt marsh as it traverses. And then the other matter was related to conversation around restoration, shoreline restoration and salt marsh restoration. The project does generally intend to enhance and improve the vegetation on site. However, full scope salt marsh restoration is not proposed at this time. So those were the two questions that came out of CIRO, and we're happy to answer any more questions from the Conservation Commission as they arrive. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Linda, go ahead.
I've got a bunch of questions. When I was looking at some of the construction details, it looks like you have steps in the thing, and it's not a continuous 1-20 or 1-12 for handicap accessibility. Are there different levels in that, like that, there's several pictures that address different levels on this boardwalk. You can't have levels. Are there different levels, or is this a continuous sort of a ramping thing as you go around the creeks?
There are ramps on, to get to the different levels. So
Okay, so
you,
there are no steps involved.
there are steps involved, but there are also adequate ramps to get up. You can see, if we go to the, maybe the architectural, yeah, right there. If we, on the backside, along that backside, there's a ramp that goes all the way up to the upper pavilion. Those steps are similar to benches, as you can sit on those as you walk down. So it's the full length of the board of that elevated area.
Well, as you know, you can't have steps if you're ADA compliant.
You
So-
you have access with a ramp to that elevation, which provides the ADA compliance.
To the entire boardwalk.
The entire boardwalk from where it starts has the slope and doesn't have any pitch in any change in elevation along the entire boardwalk that is not ADA compliant. To get to the upper level, you have the ramp on the backside that gets you up to the upper level for ADA compliance.
So there's no port of this that you can't get to.
Correct.
Obviously, you know, the 1 in 12 on a ramp and the 1 in 20 on hardscape. But have you been to the HDC yet?
I believe we are submitted and they are hearing this on Tuesday.
Because that's our policy, is to get through the HDC first, and you've got a lot of things that I'm not sure they're gonna approve.
There's not get through, apply for or
Apply for.
obtain.
But I think there's going to be changes because of the railing detail, et cetera, that may force them back in here again. So just word to the wise. But I think it's a great project. It's a phenomenal view. It's phenomenal access for the public to get down onto those creeks. It's gonna be stunning. Right on the harbor. So I just wanted to just clarify some of that. And your parking area is brick? According to this plan?
Yes, it's a permeable surface, permeable paver surface.
Okay, so they're, you can drain through the pavers.
Correct.
Okay, because when I think of brick from an historical point of view, it's regular red brick. You know, S&H bricks, and they're not permeable.
No, we
Okay.
did permeable pavers here so that we could get better stormwater treatment.
Okay. I think that's all I got to say about it, but I think it's a great project, provided it gives access to all types of challenged people.
Hey, other commissioners. Okay. I have some questions and comments. So as a private citizen, I love this plan. I love this proposal. I spend quite a bit of time at this property, and especially after seeing what was permitted through this commission for the housing project. It's great. But as a regulator of the Nantucket Wetlands regulations, I have some concerns about the boardwalk. Because the applicant is indicating that they're applying for this boardwalk under it being a water dependent use. And I'm not sure that that is accurate. So in the definition of water dependent use under the Nantucket Wetlands regulation, it's very specific. It does call out examples, include boardwalks, but it says boardwalks over wetland vegetation. So if you look at the area, you know, and also I should say the pier is certainly a water dependent use. But if you look at the plan, you have what is currently the road or driveway. You know, the boardwalk is starting all the way down in this southerly area, in an area where there's no vegetation at all. It's currently a dirt road, dirt driveway.
Mhm.
It's extending into where the old residential driveway was before. And then, you know, the viewing deck area is going over where the house previously existed, or I guess still exists. and maybe some of the wetland vegetation, but most of this boardwalk area is within a currently existing residential driveway that's just dirt or stone or what, I think it's just dirt there. Now, I understand you need to maintain ADA compliance, but it is our job as a commission to make sure that structure does not go into an area where it shouldn't be, especially right up against the salt marsh and within the 25-foot buffer. And it should be our job to ask the applicant to reconfigure this boardwalk, so this whole area that's currently within the residential driveway is not a boardwalk. It's some type of other ADA accessible walking path. Now, I love seeing the boardwalk. The architectural drawings look great.
Oh.
But it's considered a structure under our regulations and would need to be waived as a structure if you ask me.
I was gonna go there.
I
did draft waivers for that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing. We can't also go throughout the waiver discussion, but I know what DEP says under the Massachusetts Wetland Protection Act is a little bit different. Their definition of water dependent use mirrors what our definition is, but it doesn't have the exact same terms. They call out recreational use, which was referenced by Adrian as a water dependent use. They don't really go into what that means. They just say public recreational use. That's fine. But when we act as a permitting agency, we need to apply the regulations under the Wetlands Protection Act and under the Nantucket Wetlands Regulation. So we need to ensure that we're meeting the regulatory standard for both of those laws. Yes, Linda, go ahead.
I was wondering about that particular aspect of this, as much as me, private citizen, loves this whole thing myself. I just wanted to point out that they're following the old road. There was a road that came all the way from Kansu and went all the way out to the Hayes property, you know, and the little park thing is there. You can see vestiges of it here. And this is actually following the exact road layout, because even when I was a kid, you could drive the entire length. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, and that's fine. And I mean, we might be able to discuss appropriate waiver requirements for this project, but it is important that we define it correctly and then go through it correctly. Does any commissioners want to speak on that before we go to the representatives? And then I have some other questions, but yes, Mike, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I too, do like the boardwalk. Maybe some commissioners will get frustrated with me, or maybe not, but it might be worth a site visit to see how it lays out and ties the area together.
He goes there.
I would be happy to do
I
that.
haven't been there in a while, so.
Yeah, we should.
Yeah,
So
so go ahead.
yeah, so I would be considering in consideration of the waiver. Given we get all our questions answered and everybody on the commission is happy with that.
Okay. All right, so does someone for the representatives team wish to speak to this?
Sure, I'll speak to it a little bit in regard to the elevation that was chosen, the location that was chosen, and the discussion of the boardwalk being over the gravel and not being over vegetation. The analysis was done for future sea level rise and storm inundation also. So Adrian, if you can go to the slide that has our cross section with the elevations, this has actually been designed for future sea level rise and service life improvements. The way we designed it is such that as sea level rise occurs, you can see 2070 mean high water is at the deck elevation of the fixed pier over the water. So that becomes problematic, but we've designed it such that the piles have the service life for that we can then elevate the deck by actually installing pile caps rather than the split caps and increase the height of that deck elevation to another foot higher to almost 2 feet higher. So we've accounted for that in our analysis. And also the boardwalk at elevation 8 takes into account storm surge events that are much different than just your regular high tides that will still be high and quote unquote high and dry in those future sea level rise storm events. So the reason for the elevated boardwalk where grade doesn't allow for ADA compliance to still be able to maintain and have an elevated boardwalk in that area, even to the pier, it would be useless at that in the future for sea level rise. So I think that's the other part of this. While it's an overall the great project of the boardwalk and the viewing area, the reason for it for being a pile supported structure for a water dependent use was because of sea level rise and resiliency. Just so we're all on the same page of that. It wasn't just a fact of a structure. It was looking at how to use this property going 50 years from now. What's going to be the benefit of this, and how are we going to deal with this?
Yeah, thank you. And as a scientist and as a citizen, I totally understand that. But we're unfortunately in the Conservation Commission, we don't permit for 50 years, we permit for the life of the project. So we need to balance those desires of us as citizens with what the regulations say. Linda, go ahead.
There's a building on 19, is that going away?
That's completely being demolished. That's
Okay.
and that's where the bigger boardwalk is in the footprint of the old building. So all the impervious that exists today on this existing site is being replaced by the overlook and the bigger boardwalk for viewing of the salt marsh and everything else.
Did we give permission for that? Because it's right on the harbor. All the debris and stuff that's,
To be demolished?
yeah, I mean, it's in the creek.
It's like it's in this.
Yeah, it's part of this.
Yeah, it's
It's part of this. It's part of this NOI. That's the real push.
Because we have 19 is involved in this application.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if you want to hear the permanent history, there is a past notice of intent and order of conditions that allowed like significant structural changes to happen to this.
I saw it at the
Resident,
HBC.
I'm pretty sure the person who represented it is in the room here today. And then there was a change in the ownership, and it went to the land bank, and they are proposing this project that would also be as part of that project, there would be the
Mitigation.
yeah, there would be the removal of that residential use.
Because it took them over 6 months, as you painfully know, to get through the HCC. And one more question, Joe.
Go ahead.
Did you bring waivers for this?
I don't remember what it was, but it was, I think that was one of the questions, but there was another one involved with his property, but, I'm willing to entertain the waivers and I'll take a site visit again. It's not it's only just like 60 degrees. It's sunny.
It might be by next.
All right.
Not windy.
Yeah, sure. So, commissioners, thank you for your feedback. We did actually end up providing written waiver requests as part of the feedback from the conservation agent for the project related to the water dependent use. So I believe those are in hand with the agent now, if that is the pleasure of the commission to keep the project moving forward and be able to recognize the difference there.
Oh, I did have one question. I remember what it was.
Go ahead.
When we were dealing with the bulkhead and the pier reconstruction down on Washington Street, you know, the Delafano's condos down there. They had an issue with rotting that was built in the 80s. And they put the piers in sleeves, and so they did something to keep it from rotting in the future.
The dock that was already there.
Well, there was a bulkhead and then they had to replace the bulkhead, if you recall, and they had some plastic sheeting or they did
The
something
FRP.
to keep it from rotting in the future because all the base was rotted out from being in the water. I didn't know if there was any anticipation of not having the piers rot out in 20
And
years.
also, the proposed material for the pilings is Greenheart piles, which have significant service life in excess of 50+ years. And the majority of these piles aren't really even going to be in water. Only the water access pier is really going to be submerged at all times. And the service life of those pilings are extensive.
Well,
Much
again,
longer, much longer than any CCA treated or other type piles.
like, well, in Nor'easter, the whole thing will be underwater, but there you go.
Right.
Okay,
Okay. The other question I have, which is probably gonna annoy everyone too, but so in looking at the pier, so I know what is there now, it's hard to even call it really anything. It's a bunch of dilapidated, rotting pieces of wood, but
precisely.
Mostly
gone now.
mostly gone. So, but the proposal is to remove and rebuild that. And so here's where our definitions get a little interesting. So we have definitions related to residential piers. We have definitions related to commercial piers. This isn't exactly either of them. It's gonna be a public use recreational pier.
Well, it used to be a private pier.
Right, but we do need to figure out which of those definitions is gonna fall under, because there are some other requirements that it will have to meet. And like, it's probably closer to commercial than residential, because there's no residential use proposed. And then, so if you look at like the commercial regulations, it's a reference to the zoning code, it's the chapter 139, so we just have to make sure everything gets rebuilt in this accordance with that.
I'm trying to remember because we did several years ago, the land bank did Long Pond here.
Mhm. Yeah.
I can't remember what that got classified under.
It wasn't, I don't believe it was a commercial pier at that time.
I don't think it was either, but I don't know what it was classified as.
Can't be residential because there's a restriction on the word, so.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, we
Yeah.
The
can't
zoning.
classify it as residential,
Yeah,
because there's a problem
You
with.
can't put it back.
You could never, you could never. Demolish a pier and build a new residential
back.
pier, well, never is not true, there is a moratorium, but could possibly change, but right now. It's not possible to do that, so we by definition have to define this as a commercial
Commercial
pier.
pier,
If we
right?
want it to happen,
That brings a whole
But
lot
there-
of stuff with it.
yeah, so, or I guess we're going to waive all the waivers for everything, but.
Yeah, we can do that.
But, well, we can't waive the zoning code, we don't have say over the zoning code, but we could do our waivers, and then if they are unsatisfied with how the pier is classified and they need to go to zoning or someone else, it's not our problem, but I'm just wanting to know, there's a little bit of interesting
Backstory.
backstory.
No,
and
yeah, because that
specifics on
residential,
piers on Nantucket.
because that residential happened recently, correct? Because I remember we were working on one over by the Coast Guard that just got redone. So
Right.
that was after that, I think. They were talking about it at that time, so it must have just happened.
Yeah, and I think part of it is redone versus demolished and rebuilt is differently, like it's a pre-existing use. So we might have to look into that, but we can, sounds like we're probably not gonna close this application tonight, so we can get you some more clarity on that, but any other commissioners' comments before we go to members of the public? Okay, members of the public, if you're physically present in the room and wish to speak, approach the table. If you're on Zoom, raise your hand virtually. Burton Balkine, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman Engelberg. I want to first thank the proponents. I'm so glad they're taking in coastal resiliency and making it a large part of the project, taking that into consideration. That's great. I had one and I'm just talking for myself. I'm just a private citizen, and I'm a birder, and that spot is also a great birding location, and I on the plans I know that they have the viewing platform, and my ask would be if there's any way. I don't. It made it sound like in the plans that that's about the same elevation as the deck that's on the house right now. Is that correct? Let me get that straight first. The elevation of the viewing platform is going to be about the same height of the deck that's there now.
I believe that is true, yes.
Okay, if that's the case, then my ask really is mute, because that's about the level we need to see
Right.
out the marsh. In the past, when we've had access there, that viewing deck that's part of the house is a great elevation. So if that's the case, that's,
Yes.
you're answering, I guess you answered that need. The only other thing I had to bring up, there's an area, as you come down the current road to the house, on the left-hand side, I don't know if it's in the scope of this work, but there's a big, I think it's a patch of Japanese knotweed. Is that going to be addressed at all in this? It would be in the, you can see it in the where it says coastal meadow planting and salt marsh
Oh.
restoration, that area.
Adrian,
There's
can you go back to that aerial?
yeah, the area you can see the cane. You can see the knotweed. You see that. It's been now the land bank in the past has like mowed it down. I don't know if they treated it. I think they've been before the commission to do that. I was wondering if that's going to be part of the project scope.
I think it's partially on the property, but also off the property.
Yeah,
Right.
I can address that, Todd. We do have a
Yeah, great.
permit. We do have a permit to manage the knotweed there, and we have been mowing it. And we are gonna continue to manage that area in accordance with the permit that we have.
Great. I guess that's all. You've addressed all my issues. Again, thank you so much for this very thoughtful project. It's going to really enhance Nantucket communities' access to the water. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to comment? Okay. So we'll schedule a site visit. And I'll make it known that as much as I'm in support of this boardwalk, I personally don't feel comfortable issuing a waiver for this whole area. I feel like, once it starts to go perpendicular or parallel to the salt marsh. Fine, but this area that is between the parking lot and the start of the boardwalk where road surface is already proposed. I would much prefer to see that road surface extended all the way out into where this curve is and have this boardwalk be just this bit parallel to the salt marsh, because it is within our job when we issue waivers. I mean, it depends on which waiver we're gonna end up issuing, but if we're, for instance, if we're gonna issue like no adverse impacts, no reasonable alternatives, our job is to try to minimize adverse impacts as much as possible, and having less structural area will minimize that impact.
Keep in mind that has to be a 1 in 20 if it was grade as opposed to ramp.
Yeah, I
1
mean,
in 12.
I know-
it has to be 1 in 20.
I know the proponents have ADA compliance that they're trying to achieve, that has aesthetic values they're trying to achieve, they probably have HCC interests they're trying to achieve, there's a lot of competing regulations, but it is up to us to try to minimize structure, so Mike, go ahead and then we'll all go to you.
Alright. For the site visit, Liz and team, it would be great if the area was obviously staked out so we could see what the proposed boardwalk is versus our discussion. Thank you.
Will?
I was just gonna mention, I think I drafted 2 different waivers for this one, but I just wanted to remind us all of the significant public benefit new waiver that we have. It's, just to put it bluntly, it's pretty much exactly for projects like this. But that's all. I just wanted to remind us that exists.
Yeah, we're aware of that one as well, so thank you, but it's our job to try to kind of figure out all the possibilities and all the alternatives and go from there. So Todd Turcott, go ahead.
And just on that discussion, I appreciate that clarity on how the structure perpendicular, basically from the access road to the curvature, is something you're trying to mitigate. Question I would have is if the HDC were to come back and say, we don't want 4 different types of materials out here, it would be better if that was all boardwalk. How does that work with the contradicting goal?
I don't think they're gonna say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna say that either,
No.
but here's the pleasure of permitting anything on Nantucket. we say one thing, another board says something else, and then ultimately have to come back for an amendment or some other change to the
Okay.
process. Do
Fair
I
enough.
love the process that we have on Nantucket? Not particularly. Have I been advocating for years of trying to have a more uniform permitting process where there's more collaboration between boards? Absolutely. Is it likely to happen? Not likely. Maybe in my lifetime, I hope, but it's unlikely, but the reality is, you know, we only can do our job. They
Yep.
can only do their job, and then sometimes permits have to be amended. It's part of the process. Yes, Linda, go ahead.
They generally prefer less hardscape. So if it's a path, you know, at 1 in 20, I don't think they're gonna have much trouble with that. But keep in mind, their jurisdiction is from the creeks also.
Right.
Their jurisdiction is from the water, any water that borders the land there. So it's not just that they can't see it from Orange Street. And land bank property is fair game under the state regulations as far as visibility. So I could be standing in the driveway there. And that doesn't, you can't see it from the water, but you can't see it from Orange Street. You're on land bank property and that is considered viewable by the HDC. So just keep that stuff in mind. But I don't think they're gonna go after you if you cut the hardscape back from the boardwalk. They probably prefer that.
Thank you. Paul, if you
Thank you.
wanna comment, can you just come to the table so that Mike can pick it up better?
You have to go where the owl is.
Hey,
Thank you.
Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. All I was gonna ask, Seth, if you could read one more time the local definition of water dependent use.
Sure. Let me pull it up.
It's in the zoning bylaw too in some sections. I just don't know where it is.
So water dependent use here is projects which require direct water access for their intended use and therefore cannot be located out of the area subject to protection under the bylaw. Examples include, but are not limited to, docks, piers, boat landings, boathouses, marinas, stairs to beaches, and boardwalks over wetland vegetation. That's the part that's important. Boardwalks over wetland vegetation. And then the rest of the definition is things that aren't water dependent uses. So this is, that's our local definition.
So the board couldn't find that land subject to coastal storm flowage
Is part of it, if it's in there.
there couldn't be a.
No, because it's wetland vegetation. Well, here's the thing, like, it's with, here's the thing,
Smithing, well.
because I was thinking about this, because you're in the coastal bank buffer zone too.
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's been disturbed and it's currently not a vegetated bank. It's currently a recreation or a residential road or an old road, a residential driveway now. So it doesn't exactly meet that definition is a problem, but that's why we have waivers.
There's a waiver.
We have you.
I'm plenty, I'm more than willing to issue some type of waiver for some type of this project to proceed. I want this project to proceed. I just want us to do a site visit and to think about how we can minimize the structural impacts as much as possible without sacrificing the intent of the project. So that's what I hope we can do
Mhm.
at a site visit and at the next meeting.
Can I ask one last question in regard to
Yes,
that, just so
please.
that I have a better answer when I come back and some things to evaluate? If for grading purpose, for ADA compliance purposes, we have to grade within that coastal bank area, we might have to fill in that to get the grading to work. That ends up adding a different disturbance and a different impact. Is that going to be adversely looked at versus the structure? Asking for a waiver if we're not.
Yeah, it might be.
Yeah.
We do have some issues with fill and grading in the.
Right.
And some coastal storm flowage, but
Right.
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying right now that that's the end all be all. I just want us to consider it and.
Yep.
For the applicants to see what is possible.
Yeah, I want to I want to study it so that I have those answers and those alternatives and what we're looking at when we come back to you.
Adrian, go ahead, and then Linda will go to you.
Sure. Thank you very much. So just to answer the question about wetland vegetation, I want to just draw your attention to the planting schedule and the planting enhancements that are intended over the entire boardwalk, or excuse me, underneath the entire boardwalk as part of the restoration. There will be a planting of, a spray of transitional marsh mix. The intent is that the area will revegetate underneath the boardwalk to some extent. That was the reason why the DEP commented on the Division of Marine Fisheries guidelines regarding the height to width ratio of the boardwalk and how it actually should be higher. According to their findings of their research, is that the higher the boardwalk is off of the resource area, the more successful the vegetation is in the planting area. However, we're not able to accommodate that, but we do intend to see that this become revegetated as part of, the final project is underneath the boardwalk. It's not going to be maintained as a gravel landing. It's intended to be revegetated to stabilize the bank.
Thank you for that clarity. I
Sure.
also just want to say a few years back, we did receive like notice from DMF about how they were trying to actually use the 1.5 to 1 ratio. And then basically no projects could get that.
That's
So
right. It's very difficult. Yeah.
Sounds like they're back to 1 to 1, which it seems like it's still difficult in some areas. So I understand, but thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. No problem.
Okay, Linda, go ahead.
They did bring up a good point. It's 1 in 20 on grade. Which may be difficult, because if the boardwalk does start up higher, it's 1 in 12. And they can adjust the height of the slope of the boardwalk, whereas you can't really adjust the height of the walkway, the grade walkway, without cutting or filling and stuff like that. So it may be far less of an impact if the boardwalk started up farther and they can just grade the boardwalk at 1 in 12. Because it's a lot easier to meet 1 in 12 than 1 in 20 on the grade.
Yeah, and they're showing the section here too that shows the drop off of what's currently the road. So I
Yeah.
mean, I understand. I think we could go out and look at it and see what makes sense.
Okay. Take a picnic.
You want. You have to
Bring your
own.
binoculars.
Yeah, bring your binoculars.
So we will work on getting that staked out.
Yes. So here is what we hope to do if possible. Our next meeting is on April 2nd. The site visit, the standard site visit for that is March 31st. Would you be able to stake that and have a representative there on that date?
Yeah, we can, I'm probably gonna defer to Paul on staking it out. We'll probably give him the coordinates, so that's done in advance. Paul's in the room, so he could answer that if that's feasible, or if we need to stake it out ourselves.
We can, we'll stake it out, whatever your schedule is.
Okay,
I-
so
Thank you.
let's plan for the site visit to be March 31st at 4 p.m. And then we can see everything in person at that point.
We're up to 4 p.m. and not 3 p.m. now. Is
Yeah,
it light enough?
daylight savings.
It's gonna take me months to catch up to that one.
My hope for my lifespan is that we either abolish daylight savings completely or that we keep it permanently. I don't care, just pick one or the other.
Just pick one. It takes me
British
weeks to
Columbia.
get used to the one in the spring. I'm all right in the fall, but this one kills me.
Anyways, does anyone else have questions or comments before we continue this application?
No.
Good discussion.
Okay,
Good.
so we need to continue to a date certain. We will continue this to April 2nd, if that is acceptable to your team.
Yes.
Yes,
And this will
Certainly.
continue to April 2nd. Thank you.
thank you.
Okay. We have no amended orders of conditions tonight. We'll move on to our public meeting, where we'll handle our orders of conditions. First, we have two. The first is the Baxter Road alternative access at SC 483945. Will can get this up and share the screen.
Didn't hear that. We heard it like one meeting back, seeing something. Yes.
You think I could at least resize a window at this point? All right. So we've got our Baxter Road NOI here. This order permits the proposed relocation of utilities and roadways on the northern end of Baxter Road. See project narrative, section 7, within the buffer zones to a coastal bank and bordering vegetated wetlands. Waiver is required for this project as proposed. We had non-NHESP. Is that correct? I need to double check on that. Vince, can you answer that question right now or no?
Bill Casey is better placed. I want to get closer to read.
I just want to make sure that I didn't mess that up, but I'm pretty sure we are.
It does
Okay.
fall within
It's-
NHESP.
Cause you had
Yeah.
NHESP.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is
Yeah, that
just a
can-
typo.
Well, I didn't see them come into my, email.
The orders.
I
I'm
don't
not
think
sure
they were
if these
sent
were
out,
sent.
but they're here now, so.
All right. So that's fixed. And then we had our conditions 18 and 19. And then I've got condition 20, no fertilizer or other agricultural chemicals are allowed within commission jurisdiction. Commission 21, all plantings within commission jurisdiction shall be native species with no cultivars allowed. 22, the applicant shall present a yearly report, including photographs demonstrating the condition and survivorship of the replanted and abandoned area and the existing vegetated areas. 23, should the project area show less than 50% regrowth of native species within the first 2 years and 6 months of the permit, the applicant shall file a new notice or amendment for supplementing the area with native plantings and or seedings. 24, all reports are required annually by the anniversary of this order's issuance until a certificate of compliance is issued or this order expires. 25, I just added this in for a placeholder if we want it. A maintenance plan for the catch basins within the new road layout shall be submitted to the commission for review
Prior to construction.
prior to construction. And then for our waiver, I think I threw an option in here. I think they had it under, this is the waiver they were requesting. I just drafted both just in case, because I wasn't sure where we'd go with it. Waivers are required for this project under 390-18B1 for removal of road surfaces and related utility work within 25 feet of a bordering vegetated wetland. The commission finds the project as proposed will provide a significant public benefit while minimizing potential adverse impacts to the resource areas through project design and therefore grants a waiver under 393H3E. Or we have the option of the commission finds this project as proposed constitutes a long-term net benefit to the resource area with no additional adverse impacts expected. Therefore, the commission grants a waiver under 393H3C. So that's
Okay.
quick
Commissioner,
little
any,
discussion.
any, differences?
I don't like the second one.
I think the first one.
I think the first one.
Let's do the first one.
That's-
I don't like the second one at all.
Everyone benefits the homeowner, not the resource area.
Glad I put the other one in there.
Which
Sometimes
drove us towards this.
sometimes I know what's gonna happen. All right, and then that is what I have.
Anyone have anything to add?
No.
Yep, we got the maintenance plan for
Yeah,
that.
that was.
Yeah, it was all good.
Brian Madden has his hand.
Yeah, we can go to him for clarification and then I have some comments, but Brian, go ahead.
Thanks, everyone. And the waivers include 25 feet of bordering vegetated wetland and isolated vegetated wetland. Bordering and isolated. Thanks.
And coastal bank, right?
Yeah, Coastal Bank.
The coastal bank. The coastal bank did not require waivers, correct, Brian?
Correct. Yeah, we're greater than
We're all
currently
outside.
greater than 25 feet away.
Okay,
Okay,
Yeah.
alright.
Thanks.
for now.
For now.
Yeah, but we
Wait for the
we
angle.
permit in the here and now, that's all.
The
we're
angle of repose will be in the middle of that eventually.
Alright, so. I have a feeling that this is gonna be kind of like a large and intensive project. And especially might cause some like significant construction impact, so I feel like we need some conditions about getting.
Mitigation.
Well, yeah, I mean, erosion and sedimentation, definitely, I know they talked about straw wattles, but we should have some other conditions in there, but also I was gonna say more about getting. Contacts of who's gonna be doing the work. We should put in the conditions about someone on the contractor's team picking up refuse in the area, I mean.
The daily
There's daily site inspections, there's a lot of like construction type.
I think we need,
Thanks.
our staff needs to inspect it more than once every 3 years. I think he needs to go out there.
Well, he
During
can
this
go
whole-
out there anytime he
Yeah,
wants,
during
as
this
long
whole
as the permit
project.
is open, so.
You,
Like,
you,
sit out there.
you may be surprised. Well, first of all, that can't possibly happen. I got other things to do, but you may be surprised how often I visit the bluff. Vince is nodding, yes.
Don't go on the beach to Bluff Walk.
We've used those before.
Yeah, these are all standard
Yeah.
construction
Yeah.
conditions that I would
Yeah.
expect in a project of this size and scope.
So what we have in our, just to check with you, what we have in our master list of things we've used before. We've got a few conditions for silt fencing, like straw wattles shall be installed along the silt fencing. Distance. Yeah, so I mean, that stuff might not, it's completely up to you guys, but the condition. I feel like I say this sometimes, but this condition 18, anything that's in their narrative that they say that they're gonna do. We're holding them, we're holding
Yeah,
them
I'm
to
not
it.
so worried about that, it's more about having the name, the businesses and the
Yeah.
context for construction.
Yeah.
I mean, I know in the general conditions, it says that people have to contact energy staff before they initiate their work. I don't think people really do that, though. Unfortunately, it's maybe half and half. So I think if we put a special condition in there saying like, making sure everything is. All the staff are contacted and aware of this before it's ready to go. Having the on-site supervisor to check for debris and all these other things that should be in there.
Daily,
Yes.
not once every 6 months. It can't, the point is, it can't hurt to put your stuff in there.
It doesn't hurt, no.
You wanna say daily?
Yeah, during the project construction, I guess. Like I said, never gonna happen, but yeah.
So this one, we might wanna think about a little bit before we rush into this.
I think it's
You
pretty
think you're good?
standard stuff, yeah. My other comments well, I'll wait till he writes, but are like. Making sure that all equipment is stored outside of any area
Business
subject
area.
to commission jurisdiction. Except during active construction.
Which was the last big one we did like this? Where we can just pull stuff off of it.
Some members isn't like that, isn't it?
It's a little bit different,
That's
but
different. That's for cleaning up the debris off the beach. Not accessing the beach.
Has some
It
component.
was all beach access.
94 Washington had the same type of thing, right, where we said.
Not the equipment piece, but yeah, but.
we've had that before, but.
Yeah, we have had.
The last time we've done a major road construction project like this was
I don't really
less
know.
major, but it was the corner of Francis and Washington Street when they
Oh,
did
they took
that,
the cottages out.
that
and
whole
all that
thing,
stuff.
yeah,
Yeah, and we redid the corners.
yeah.
We have.
Actually, the project that Condition 19 was born on.
Yeah,
Give you the history there.
that house moved again.
I'm just scrolling through my list real quick. All right, did I miss something that you mentioned?
No, I think those are fine. I think
That's it.
those are fine.
The most fun I've ever heard anybody have at Conservation
I
Commission.
think, we need a gold star for youngest
It's
member of the public
incredible.
attendee in the Nantucket Conservation Commission history, I think.
She's been very good.
Very good. All right. I believe that's it.
All right. So
motion?
does anyone else have anything? And if not, we'll take your motion to approve as amended.
That's my
Second.
motion.
Thank you for the motion and the second by roll call vote. Joe Planowski,
Hi.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Engelberg, aye, that carries unanimously.
We got you something.
And then we need to do Town of Nantucket, 130 Town Nevers Road, SC 483962, which
Who's last?
has been closed out and is the result of an emergency order, but we need to deal with the final issuance of this order of conditions here.
You may remember I saved over it with an incorrect order before last meeting.
And also, it should be noted that a updated plan of record was submitted.
Okay.
That has the access path for construction. Is that plan of record in this reference in this? Yeah, you just say amended on the day that they sent in that amendment.
Yeah, I just need to check what date that was.
Is that was a big issue, frankly.
Yeah,
Um,
all right, well, we'll figure that out.
that may be this date.
No,
I'm gonna-
this is recently,
gonna
it's
check.
the thing that
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
got,
After our last meeting.
Oh,
Yeah.
right.
is the thing we just got because they had originally planned to plant in their
In there,
construction act,
yeah,
that-
right,
and then they
right.
realized, oh, it's not planned in the construction.
Good
act,
idea.
So, yeah, we just need that date and
I can get that, no problem, but while I'm doing that, I don't know if someone else wants to start reading.
No,
You can just read it for a
yeah, I
moment.
mean, we don't have to do it, we can just say. You know, the findings are the NHSP and the second findings related to the be an emergency permit. There's the 18 and 19 standard conditions. 20 is, if he scrolls down, is just the thing we just talked about, the onsite monitor for debris removal.
March 5th.
Yeah.
March 5th.
There we go.
okay.
All right.
Yeah, we went through all that, so we just go down to 20 beyond there.
So we got 20, an employee shall be designated by the contractor to monitor the site for debris and dispose of them properly. 21, best management practices. I'm gonna have to delete this. I just copied these from the last one because I figured
Ahead of the game.
an employee shall be designated. We got that. 21, the best management practices for dust and debris control as described in the notice of intent and related materials shall be followed by the contractor performing the demolition work. It's gonna be the cleanup work. It's funny as I actually wrote that one from scratch and still wrote demolition. 22, contact information for contractors involved in the project shall be provided to commission staff. They were, I had meetings with them. They had to shut down because of the explosive material. And 23, all equipment shall be stored outside of commission jurisdiction, outside active work hours.
You don't have the debris one in there.
Yes, yes.
The whole
Yes,
thing. I can't see it.
Yes, 21, it's 20 and 21.
Yeah, 20 and 21.
Because the whole point is they're cleaning up the debris.
Yes. And if you've been down there, it does look incredible.
I was there today.
It'll look great for hopefully a few more months.
Yep.
Waivers and waivers under the bylaw. Waivers are required with 390, 16G1, 3, and 4 for alteration and disturbance of vegetation within verified rare or significant
We probably
species
lose the
habitat.
limit if we can.
Commission finds project as proposed will provide a significant public benefit while minimizing potential adverse impacts to rare species habitat through project design and therefore grants a waiver under 393H3E of the Nantucket Wetlands Regs.
So not to be the contrarian here, not that I don't believe that, but I think this one is better suited to the long-term net benefit because you're specifically getting debris and trash out of the area and increasing the functionality of that area, so. Just think. we
Which to
should
me
be-
is a significant
It
public
is, I just think we
benefit, but
should be,
okay.
yeah, it is, but I just think we should be a little bit judicial with that.
That's
waiver.
the,
Significant can become less significant over time.
This was pretty significant if you saw the amount of stuff they pulled out, but,
Doesn't matter.
it's C, right?
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't wanna look it up.
let's see.
How do you move that stuff off the top of your head? That is so bad. Do you have anything else to do with your time?
I got a lot of stuff to do, but. Full-time job.
I know the zoning board is like the back of my hand. I can tell you what section, but I still can't do those sections.
I've been around longer than you on this one.
Yeah, I've been on the zoning board for 43 years, since that cited chapter goes.
Alright, thanks for that change, Will. Anyone else have anything that they'd like added
I'll make a motion to approve
as amended,
as
please?
amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we just need to wait for him to finish writing. Okay. Okay, by roll call vote, Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
Don Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Thingborg, aye, that carries unanimously. Thank you. And now we'll move on to requests for determination of applicability. We're gonna do these in the consent style. So the first is for delineation only. This is Nantucket RE Investors LLC, 21 Lincoln Avenue. Would anyone like to, would any commissioners like to open this?
I know this project.
Okay, Will, do you have a recommendation for us?
Yes, I do. For 21 Lincoln, I had a positive 2A. That the delineation submitted is accurate and therefore binding. And a -3, which is that the proposed project is in the buffer zone, but will not alter the area. That's it.
Okay, is there a motion to issue the RDA with those, as Will mentioned,
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
those determinations? Is there a second? Thank you. By roll call vote, Joe Flindowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Thingmore, guy that carries unanimously.
Question,
Yes,
can we take things out of order or do we have to follow?
we can take out of order.
These nice folks have been sitting here all night, young gentlemen, maybe we could take them, and let them go on their way.
What are you here for?
Enforcement order, 34A Grove.
Okay, alright, great.
If
you Do you mind if we just finish the RDAs
No,
and then
that's fine.
go to that?
We'll do the CFCs
Yeah.
after. Yeah,
So.
good man.
Request for determination of applicability of work requested. So now we have two in this section, the town of Nantucket 59 through 83 Baxter Road. Would anyone like to open that one?
No.
I think we should open that one.
You did just receive the presentation.
I think we should open that one, but
Okay, open and close it.
we should have them talk about what the difference is between the RDA section and the NOI section are, but we'll go to that in a second. JS Homes Nominee Trust, 11 H Street. Would anyone like to open that one? Okay, Will, do you have a recommendation for us on 11 H Street?
-3, the project is in the buffer zone, but will not alter the area.
Okay, is there a motion to issue that
Issue
determination?
the RDA.
Okay,
Second.
thank you for the motion and the second. By roll call vote, Joe Flindowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Thingmore, aye, that carries unanimously.
Yeah.
So we'll go back to town Nantucket 59 through 83 Baxter Road for the RDA. If the project representatives could just quickly explain the difference about the areas that are being asked for a permit under the request for determination of applicability versus what we just closed in the NOI, that would be appreciated.
In 40 words it was.
No, it could be a few minutes.
10 seconds. for my name and
Go
appear.
ahead.
This family need me.
Introduce yourself for the record.
Thank you, Chair Engelberg. Vince Murphy, Natural Resources Department, Town of Nantucket, representing on this request for determination of applicability. These two additional spurs are I wonder if I could ask Bill Casey to put it on screen.
You just that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
In the middle of the project area, are coming to the back of houses, they are within the 100-foot buffer zone. However, there are lots of disturbed habitats, buildings, driveways, parking areas, very well maintained and manicured lawns and garden areas. There is a good buffer between anything of interest or note.
Okay, thank you.
And I would, if you have any further questions, you can ask Bill Casey.
Thank you. Any questions? Will, do you have a determination for us?
Yes, I do. Sound like a broken record tonight. It's a -3 that the project is in the buffer zone, but will not alter the area as proposed.
Would somebody like to make a motion to issue the RDA with that recommendation?
So move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you both. By roll call vote, Joe Mandelsky,
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarelli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
So that more aye, that carries unanimously. So we will go at requests of the commission to enforcement actions to 34A Grove Lane. Will, can you provide us an update of where we're at with this? And then we can go to the representatives and other people involved.
Did you see the recent pictures after that rain?
So we'll go ahead. Hey, Linda, it's Will.
So I'll just be super brief. Right now, we're here to receive plans, as I just did in hand from Mr. Paul Santos. I don't know how much of a overview you guys want of the past, but
Yeah, go.
we're basically just here after requesting them to be at this meeting, and I want to let Paul take it and run.
Great.
Okay, Paul, please introduce yourself for the record, your connection with the project, and then make the piece.
Okay, thank you. Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors on behalf of the property owner Foxmore LLC. Louis Breckman is with us tonight. He is the manager and owner of the property, along with Henry, who said, "Can I bring my child?" I said, "Well, that would be a good civics lesson," but not realizing it was only a 2-year-old, so. But anyway, you've issued an enforcement order on this particular property. Foxmore LLC acquired this property in 2023, at which time they proceeded with activity on the property that started with obtaining a building permit and HDC approval to take the existing dwelling, which was purchased, I believe, from Nicholas Holgate, which was in the Holgate family for a number of years. They had approval for window changes, shingle, a greenhouse, which was essentially an attached sunroom, a wooden entry, a stoop, and enclose an existing porch. So the then activity was taken out in the rear of the property, which was directly within the existing wetland areas. Also, the work that was done for the existing dwelling, all of this was basically done within Concom jurisdiction. Some of it within the 25-foot no disturb, most of it within the 50-foot no build, and some of it directly within the wetlands. So what I put together for tonight is just to briefly give you a synopsis of what happened. Request that maybe we have a site visit on the 31st. And then at the meeting following the 31st, come back with at least some type of restoration and remediation plan based on maybe some of the feedback we get tonight. The plan that you see before you, you'll see the yellow is structure additions that were made to the property. Again, for the purposes of where we feel there's some isolated wetlands on the property, there's bordering vegetated wetlands. Keep in mind, this all occurred within your no-build jurisdictional areas. The front of the dwelling, you see a deck and a boardwalk was added. On the side of the dwelling, you'll see a deck and an outdoor shower. And then there was a small area of the deck that was expanded. Within the building itself that was already structured, there was an infill of the porch, which is shown on the property, and then there was a sunroom infill, which was an enclosed sunroom that was renovated into interior space. A stone driveway was added. You'll notice the stone driveway, that's the hatched area, that was added to the property. And then at the south of the property, which we feel was it was a lawn area, but it was basically a wetland area. That area was filled with fill, and along the property to the west, which is Susan Lister Locke's property, there was a berm constructed along that, a trench and a berm that was constructed along that property, which is now retaining water basically on the Locke property. I will say, Susan, I believe, is on the call tonight. I've worked for Susan for a number of years. I actually reached out to her before we took on this project here and thought it would be a benefit for her if I could represent both parties in moving this forward to try to remediate what's been done out there. We've been before you in the past with a number of applications on Susie's property, and the wetland lines that you see on her property were previously established by notices of intent. Most of that area was all flagged by David Haynes over the years. The second plan you see is the same plan as the first one. It's just an overlay of an aerial photo that gives you kind of a sense of what the area kind of looks like. You're basically surrounded by wetlands here. The other thing we'll see, and I'll be submitting these as part of, this is the area, this photo here is what the area looked like at the time of sale, which was basically, even though this is all lawn back here, it's a wetland area. This is that's that back area. And again, you see that back area here, which is what the back area, and this is what the property looked like. Still, again, just after the house renovations were made, but before the back area was filled. That's where the majority of the area now, when you look at, they're pretty dramatic. This is the back area now, Susie's property. You'll see this berm that was constructed here is now, keeping water from traveling and then staying on Susie's property. And then this is that back area now after one of our larger rain events.
There's actually a video of it.
And Susie's got information. So it's pretty significant in the back. My first thought here was to come before the commission with a remediation plan for that back area. Not so much to return it to a lawn, but to remove the fill and then go in there with vegetation and try to have that area act more as a active wetland as it interacts. Remove that berm so the water that's backing up on Susie's property is dissipated and go somewhere, and then that's kind of where we're at with all this. How the commission feels about the work that was done at the dwelling and also that extra driveway there. Obviously, we're open to discuss that moving forward. And again, that can maybe be a discussion too when you actually see the property. Some of you have already been there. Again, Lewis purchased this property in 2023. Moving forward with what he thought were valid permits, I believe, with the Concom, HTC and so forth. I mean, with the HTC and the building department, it's what brought us as we are to here. There's obviously landscape firm that worked on the property. There's some other entities too. But what we're trying to do here is, make this right, remediate, and help Susan's situation out, which is the abutter, and then get back and get this property into compliance.
Yeah. Thank you. For question, for clarification, Paul, do you currently represent Susie, or are you just?
I can't really represent Susie.
Okay.
Yeah, Susie and I have been talking tonight. We got her the link. She's on. I don't know if she wants to be heard at all. But as I had said, I would not have taken on this project without, talking to Susie about it.
Okay.
But I'm here tonight representing the homeowner.
Yes.
That's a violation.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah.
Linda, go ahead.
What was most disturbing is the berm and swimming pool that is now 2 feet, because she's at different elevation. And the fill that was put in there.
Yeah.
And it's not just the fill, it's the non-indigenous plantings. Privet should not be planted in the 25-foot buffer.
Yeah.
And there's privet, and I understand there was gonna be more privet, no privet. So there are various little things going on that need to be rectified, not just, it's not so much that concerned me about the house. I knew the house, it was Billy, it was Nicholas's dad's.
Yeah.
It was Billy's before he died in a plane crash, and so I'm well aware, and I used to live on Grove Lane, so I know the property really well. And it's not so much the stuff to the house, because it needed a little assistance, especially if you have a family. But it was the driveway, the planting of the privet, the berming and the fill, those are my concentrated areas. I don't really have a whole lot to say about the house itself, because it was just a simple tape. To do stuff to it, for the kids to live in it, and the family to live in it. But that's what really concerns me, is all this stuff, and not one of it was permitted. So that's what's concerned.
Yeah, John, go ahead.
So the idea is to go out and do a site visit, Paul, and get our comments, and then come back with, you know, a plan for how we're gonna fix this.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I mean, I know how I know
If you
how I
have
want.
comments right now,
Yeah.
that you're welcome to make.
Yeah, well, I think we're happy, because I think I know what's gotta be done in the back. I think we've gotta get rid of the berm.
So,
We've gotta mitigate, and I don't think the mitigation is going to be that this commission is gonna say, put the lawn back.
no,
No,
You know what I mean? So it's really,
Solid point.
adhering to that back area, so.
there is another driveway, they just added an additional
That's right. Actually, that driveway is an easement over Susie's property to get into the
to
property.
get into the property,
only
so
allowed
this is unnecessary.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's easement, but it wouldn't serve that. It had
It could
served
serve
that.
both, yeah.
It served that.
There's a lot of that on Grove Lane.
lot.
now that the grade change is too significant for that to serve.
That's common on Grove. Lane.
So,
True.
Okay, let's go do a site visit.
yeah, we can do a site visit for the 31st. We'll have to coordinate with the staff to figure out which is gonna happen first, but we'll figure that out.
I think we told the other guys 4 PM.
Okay, so
So we'll
yours
do-
will be after.
Yeah.
Not to ascribe blame or judgment here, but I think very significant unpermitted work happened. So personally, I think almost all of this needs to be removed and mitigated. Definitely what you're talking about with the berm. The restoration of the wetlands. I think almost all of the structural additions should be removed, except maybe the infill areas I would be comfortable with if they went through permitting through a notice of intent. But the added decks, the added driveway, all of that is all within the area that it shouldn't be any building. So I think we would, I would personally be looking for a restoration of those areas as well.
Well, the only thing I think about the visibility, when we do the site visit, I don't think you're gonna find the stuff done to the house, it's egregious. Because the boardwalk was done to keep them out of the ground, because it was so wet to get from the driveway, the new driveway, which is an issue, into the house, that was sort of a necessity.
Yeah.
Because I remember when Billy lived in the house, it's like you had to do duck boots to get into the house from whatever driveway there was.
Yeah, we can figure it out
So
once
I
we
don't
go.
think that's gonna be as bad as it
Yeah.
looks on paper.
We'll see after we go, but,
Will goes birding up there.
No,
Will, do you have anything to add?
I was just gonna say, I think, not to like cut us off from conversation, because that's not what I'm doing ever, but it may be something we discuss after our site visit.
Yeah.
I think for anybody to make up their mind, really, it would behoove you to think about it
Reserve
after the
judgment.
site visit. Yeah, just because if it, obviously, it may be possible that it's something that we could permit
Yeah.
after the fact. A lot of it obviously isn't, but I definitely, a site visit's very worthwhile.
I'm just gonna say though, if we are going to be looking towards allowing structural elements to be retained. we shouldn't do that through this enforcement order, we should do it through a notice. of insurance.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so
Right.
we can figure that out,
Yeah.
but let's take it one step at a time.
I think we've, not to keep going, but I think in the past, as a part of an enforcement order, we've required. Notice it, like we can,
Yes,
we can
we
amend it to
did-
just be
we
like,
did
we're
that in summer.
requiring.
We've done that.
Yeah, like automatic,
Yeah.
but
Automatically.
we can do it like midway is what. I'm
Yeah.
saying, But
Okay, so. Does anyone else from the representative or from
Isn't
the
mine.
violators wish to speak? No.
He'd like to talk.
You have anything?
You would, if you could just come to the table, so,
Yeah, fix you up up there.
thank you. You can sit next to Paul or. Yeah.
The thing that picks up everybody is that stupid thing in the middle of the table.
If you could please identify yourself for the record with your full name, your connection to the project, and then make your comment, that would be great.
Sure, I'm Louis Breskman, I'm the homeowner, as Paul said, I purchased the property in April of 2023. And I just want to say, first of all, I want to say that this is my fault. I thought that I had approval. I was led to believe, I was informed I had approval from, I was given approval from HTC, and I thought I had the approval here too. I apparently didn't have it. One thing that Commissioner Engelberg mentioned earlier, he said that he wishes there was more overlap between the various committees. And I concur with that. I wish there was. I thought I had approval, but I didn't. So did a couple of things. People who know Grove Lane know the house was in pretty bad shape.
So the least.
Yeah, it was pretty rough. And so we hired a local firm here and we started doing some renovations, and under everything we thought was okay. We were sharing a driveway with Susie Locke, and we talked to her about it, and we there was no driveway to the house. It was like an easement through her driveway, and so that's where we established the curb cut to access the house. And we thought everything was fine. As you guys know, the lot is like this very odd, like jigsaw puzzle shape. So what led to the current problem right now? I think the current problem is this backyard situation, which, as you see, the pictures are from the rainstorm, see how the water has a big issue. The current problem happened when we're looking at the lot, and it has this really odd jigsaw puzzle shape, and it was never kind of clear whose land you're on, if you're on ours or Susie's and stuff. So the intention, and this obviously, the intention was, although the result failed, right? The intention was to delineate the different lots, so we could show which was this property and which was the other one. That was the goal. I know that, I was informed that we had approval to put a pool in and stuff like that. We never took any action with that. I was informed we had the approval. That probably is probably not true. But that's what I was told, but we didn't do anything with that. Well, all we're trying to do here is show where the property line was. Now, it probably would have been a lot better if I had more information and we'd gone with something, different. I mean, I didn't even know that this privet was apparently not allowed. I didn't know that. So we're just trying to put some kind of marker or barrier, whether it was a hedge or a fence or whatever, or a couple of native plantings or anything really. Anything besides just so we could show where, because people were, like, we don't know if we're walking on Susie's land or not. That's all. That's honestly, that's all we're trying to do.
We
Just
didn't
like-
come up with a plan of plants, indigenous plants and stuff that would work in a wetland type of thing. There was just a bit of scrub out there for decades.
They've just been scrubbed.
Yeah, all through the wetlands are just crap, basically. People would dump stuff back there, but there is a way to delineate between the two, and Paul can.
Yeah, there absolutely is, and there absolutely is, and what we did was not a good plan. This was not a good plan, but unfortunately is what happens. Now we're here and we would like to make it right. We're not trying to cause anybody any problems or mess anyone up, okay? We're just trying to have a yard that we could show where it was. That's all I was trying to do. Now we have a big mud pit and a mess, and it's kind of a disaster.
Yeah, thank you, and I appreciate the apology and documenting the history of the actions. And as I said before, we're not trying to ascribe blame or judgment to people. We're just trying to our job when we deal with enforcements is to mitigate and restore. So we're gonna work towards that process. And I do feel bad for you because as I said before, permitting on Nantucket is extremely complicated. And I feel doubly bad for you because, real estate agents and real estate lawyers have a fiduciary duty to their clients to just make it known if these issues are exist on property. So to buy a property under the assumption that there weren't wetlands issues there and to never been told that sucks. I'm sorry for you that you went through that. But our job is again to just make it right. So we'll work with you and with Paul and we'll do the site visit and we'll get the plan in place to come to a solution.
Sounds good. I appreciate it. Thank you. I'm on the same side as you guys. I want to get it resolved too. I don't want to, he doesn't want to be here at all, so.
He's almost always here.
Thanks for sitting through our
Thank you,
stimulating
Henry,
meeting.
for coming to the Nantucket Conservation Commission meeting. I hope you don't have to come again until many years from now when you get to sit in this chair. And be on the commission, but.
No, Henry.
Be in my chair. There could be a concomitant. So we got Susie, I think, like.
So yes, so we are in our public meeting, and we're not required to take like open public comment, but because Susan Listerlock is a direct abutter with a direct interest in this enforcement order, we will permit you to speak. Please introduce yourself for the record with your full name, your connection to the project, and make your comment.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Susan Listerlock and Lewis's neighbor. And I was very happy to see him come in and take good care of that house and redo it. I was distressed extremely about the berm and the privet going in because they're called pork chops lots, Lewis. And his has got the fat end on the street and mine's got the fat end on the back. My pork chop was the driveway with the easement. And there was an actual driveway because there was the whole gatehouse had an actual garage on it. So on that easement was an actual driveway into that garage that led to that garage. Before the flood, before the berm created the Hoover Dam onto my property, I asked Lewis. I mentioned to his landscaper that I really didn't want a privet there because the Grove Lane is so pastoral and we're surrounded by conservation, and I can see him having privacy, and I think he has total privacy because I've sat on his porch looking back at mine, and I've looked at my yard, look at his. I really can't see people, and I don't think they really can see me. But I did ask a friend who's written several books and is a landscape designer about what you could do instead of privet, and she came up with, and I said I really didn't want my brother's, it's his property and my property, but it was so open and pastoral, and the deers walk across and the herons walk across, and the kids that, his tenants ran around in my yard, and I was just as happy as a clam that they did that, and they came to visit my kids in my shed and everything. And my friend sent me a whole bunch of plantings that were good in wetlands and also not, non-invasive, and I'd like to see something. Bring it back to a wetland. However you bring it back, I guess is what I want to say. Is I just hope that a wall won't go up between the two properties, because I just really want to keep it open. It's beautiful. It's natural. Native species are wandering around, and I'd really like to keep it that way. And I know he's got approval for a pool, and that just
Not in Harry, then.
that
That's not happening.
and that upsets me too. But I want to and then we can get into my flooded yard, but it sounds like, he and Paul are working on a plan, and I appreciate that very much, because I would have to wear boots to walk across my lawn at this point. I don't know what it's gonna look like when you guys go out there, because I don't know how wet it is. I'm down in Florida. But I hope that you will look at the videos and all the photos, because it's quite severe. And I've got a little, shed that my granddaughter and her friends sleep in, on the property, as well as a tool storage shed, and I don't want them getting, all moldy and wrecked, due to all this wetness. So, and I would like to have a happy neighbor. I mean, I have a nice neighbor relationship with my neighbor. So, I mean, they've been nice people so far, but this is, his landscaper even said to me, he knew the privet was going to die too, but, uh, he said, let him do it, and then you can argue about the pool. So that didn't sound like a good argument to me. But I think that's, all I have to say at this point, and I appreciate, all of your input and all that you're doing, and that you're doing as well, Louis and Paul
Thank you, Susie.
and the board.
I can assure you that there's no way a pool could be permitted on his property, so you don't have to worry about that.
Sounds
It
like
doesn't seem like they even want to do that anymore.
I have the agency approval for it. so-
Yeah.
Well, the problem would, to track back on something, we're back down to this, the boards working together again. The HCC has no of the holding to anybody. Because you get HCC jurisdiction, they have nothing to do with where the wetlands are or what kind of plantings, unless it's to hide the pool kind of thing. So they can approve something on paper that isn't gonna pass the planning board or pass the Concom. That can't be worked out because that's a subjective architectural review, and they could care less where the wetlands are.
Jesus.
So the building permit application does have
Yeah.
a check off. for
Yeah,
Concom.
I'm sure,
Yeah.
yeah.
Certainly does,
It
yeah.
does say, it's on the building permit
Everything
application.
filed and all this other stuff.
So-
And
Anyways,
Okay.
so we will, do our site visit on March 31st. Probably like at 4:30, 4:30-ish, 4:40.
Maybe 4:45.
4:45, yeah.
East Creek.
60 degrees and warm.
Um,
Okay,
if a representative could be there.
I'll be there.
yes. Thank you, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
yes, I use myself for Chloe.
And
We can.
Lewis, thank you as well.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for coming in.
All right,
And
Henry,
great
all
part.
right, he's really.
Yeah, you don't have to come here again, and you can go home and eat some delicious dinner.
I hope you have a
Ready to
good
go.
night, Henry. Thank you. Thank you guys for coming in.
Have a nice night, thank you. All right, while we're in enforcement actions, are there any new and emerging enforcement actions to come before your desk?
No, I guess that is the appropriate time to ask that, though. Thank you.
We don't have anything to talk about related to Baxter Road geotubes today, so we will not discuss that. And we will return into earlier items. There's no minor modifications. We'll go to certificates of compliance, which we have 3. West Shore LLC, 62 Onoma Way, SC 483869. Seahorse LLC, 5 Grant Avenue, SC 483786. Tornavish, 21R Allen's Lane, SC 483584. Would any commissioners like to open any of these?
No.
Okay.
A motion
Will,
to,
well, hold on. Will, do we have any ongoing conditions on any of these?
We do on 62 Winoma and 21 Allens.
Okay, tell us the ongoing conditions for each.
So 62 Winoma, we've got condition 20, 21, and 22. So 20 is that the applicant shall present a yearly report, including photographs demonstrating the condition of the area that has been brush cut to commission staff. Should the commission determine that additional plantings are necessary, they will be authorized based on this discussion. 21, all reports outlined in narrative due by anniversary of this order's issuance. I might have circled that by mistake. 22, all lighting shall be in compliance with chapter 102 of the Nantucket Town Code. I think 21 that I mentioned makes no sense.
Okay, we could strike that.
So we'll strike 21. It's just 20 and 22, which are the lighting and boarding.
All right, and then for the other one?
21 Allen's Lane was just condition 20 for exterior lighting to be directed away from the resource area and in compliance with 102.
Okay,
I'm gonna
Is-
vote now.
yes, is there a motion to issue the 3 certificates of compliance with the ongoing conditions for the specific certificates of compliance that Will listed?
Yeah, that's me.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mike. By roll call vote, Joe Planowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Israeli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Inglewood, aye, that carries unanimously. No extension requests tonight. We have 2 sets, or in other business, we have 2 sets of minutes to approve,
I'll make a motion. to
February
approve them.
19th and March 5th. Is there any edits or changes? Okay, Linda's made a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Is there, by roll call vote, Joe Pandowski,
Aye.
John Schaefer,
Aye.
Mike Israeli,
Aye.
Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Inglewood, aye, that carries unanimously. No monitoring reports, committee reports. Our crack representative is not here. CPC,
Just, handling our assignments and
Working it out.
working it out, yeah. Doing our
Okay.
thing.
NPDC,
Nothing new to report.
thank you. Harbor Plan Update Committee.
Don't ask.
Still
Okay.
waiting. Still waiting.
All right, so. Commissioners' comments.
2 site visits.
Good meeting, Mr. Chairman, again.
Thank you. Anything else?
Are we skipping over the SBPF sand plan discussion?
Yes, we talked about, at the beginning of this meeting, when we approved or accepted the agenda, we struck that from the agenda because there was
I missed that.
nothing to talk about.
And we're waiting on Baxter Road to get more information from the police? or-
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And if any information's gonna.
Any
There
information?
should have been a camera down here.
Okay.
Staff reports.
I will just say thank you for an efficient meeting. I know it might not feel like it given the length of our agenda, but we had some complex stuff on here, so I think that went super well tonight. And thank you guys. And thank you, Joe, for continuing to once over the minutes. I think that's been really nice for us. He's been
Their minutes pleasing.
doing what's the word I'm looking for here?
He's
He's our
our
minutes
police.
editor, the proofreader. It's been much appreciated, so thank you. And thanks, Lisa.
I
That's
need
it.
signatures, guys, don't we?
Well, hold on. Before we adjourn, I see that Meredith Smoldenhauer's hand is raised. I'll recognize you for a procedural question only. If it goes beyond that, we will cut you off. So go ahead.
Good evening, Meredith Moldenhauer on behalf of SEPF. I joined later than I guess comments were made regarding our agenda item, given the fact that our agenda item was at the end of the meeting. I joined around 5:20 and I've been listening in. And so I'd like to, one, understand why the issue's been tabled. We have an update for the commission and obviously are continuing to work diligently towards trying to provide the information that the chair requested and the commissioner requested last time. And so I'd be curious to understand why the issue was tabled.
Makes a good point. I did specifically request that they submit information to this meeting. So in that case, Ms. Moldenhauer, please provide your update.
Before I provide my update, can you at least update me on what was discussed earlier? Because I'm just confused as to why it was not on the agenda. I'm
nothing was
happy to
discussed.
update it as well.
Yeah, sorry, nothing was discussed earlier.
The road was.
The SPPS sand plan discussion was accidentally left on this agenda, but it was meant not to be on the agenda, so that was stricken. But if your update is in the Baxter Road geotubes enforcement section, which is what it sounds like you're referencing. I will apologize. I forgot that we asked for that update, so we had skipped over it thinking that we had nothing to discuss, but that is not correct. So I am sorry, and I will take your update now.
Thank you, Chair. Just trying to be responsive and ensuring that we come before you on the dates you request and informing you and the public on where we are. And so we are here tonight, as you indicated. Last time we said we were going to update you on kind of where we are for repairing the geotube post vandalism. And we have retained a contractor to do a survey that would be required to provide the plans required per the request. We anticipate those plans, the survey being completed next week. The survey then has to be inputted into data and then prepared into plans, which we think would take potentially 2 weeks, which might be the first week of April. And so we would then be prepared to come back to you on Thursday, April 9th, with some additional information, and provide you with more specific documentation of the repairs that are needed.
April
Thank
2nd.
you. No, it doesn't sound like they'll be ready for April 2nd. We do not have a meeting on April 9th, so please prepare for April 16th, which is the next meeting in April.
Yeah.
That is still a vacation week for anybody who's got kids.
So I'll be here.
So thank you also for getting all that information to us, and I'm glad that the surveyor has been contracted with and all of this information is proceeding. Again, I apologize, but thank you for your update, and we'll plan to get the plans in the next update at April 16th. Is that acceptable?
Yes, we will provide what we have on April 16th. We obviously are hoping that there are no delays in what we've been quoted. But obviously we will update you on the 16th and file something in advance of that, and look forward to continuing to work with the commission on these repairs.
Thank you, Ms. Moldenhauer.
Thursday, the 9th is the submission date
Yeah,
for that meeting.
yeah, the submission date is the 9th, but the meeting is the 16th.
Would it be isn't it like the 10th at noon?
It's the 10th, yeah. the
Oh,
submission
sorry,
date.
Friday.
Yes,
Friday.
Friday the 10th, yeah.
Fine. All goodwill. I'm just trying to make sure I stick to whatever dates you tell me.
Friday.
You tell me the 9th, I'll do the 9th.
Sorry, yeah, Friday the
No,
10th
you're
at
good.
12 p.m. I'm looking at the schedule right now is the submission deadline.
That's my sleep deprived mistake.
Keep in mind that Monday is Patriots Day,
Yeah.
the holiday.
So thank you. We'll look for the submission and we look forward to reviewing it, and then we will hear an additional presentation at 16th. So with that, now I think we're ready to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. By roll call vote, Joe Pondowski.
Aye.
John Schaefer.
Aye.
Mike Mazzarello. Aye. Linda Williams.
Aye.
Seth Ingwer, aye. That carries unanimously.
You're
Thank you
not
all.
recording now?
Hold on, I gotta click buttons.
Thank you all.
Sneaky. Oh, we have to find one?
Things are